In this episode, we're gonna give one piece of advice that we experienced firsthand. And to start off, if I had only 5 minutes to give you a piece of advice, if I only had one piece of advice to give you, that advice would be to change your environment and you'll change your life. The reason is because with changing your environment, you change your behaviors. And when you change your behaviors, you change your life essentially, because your life is made up of the actions. And just like the saying, your actions speak louder than your words, which, to be honest, I think the more relevant version of that is that your actions speak louder than your thoughts. Because when you really think about it, your thoughts are what you could have done, or what you did, or you're just reflecting on what you did. And what you did is your actions. It's what you did after the thought came. It's what you acted on. And when you change that, when you change your actions, you change your life. Because now the way you're perceived and what is embedded into your entire life is not forever changed, because you can't change what you did. So, and the fastest way to do that is by changing your environment, which is something that we've experienced firsthand. So we're going to give our experiences with that, and then advice, stuff that we thought of, and stuff that I think would be valuable to the audience.
A good way to open it up. This is definitely a great conversation to have when it comes to changing. Changing is definitely something that is hard to do for people, especially if you're living in an environment that just doesn't seem to inspire you. Because it has to come from within. And then the thoughts become more vivid, because now it's like, okay, it's clear that I need to change. But when you're like just stuck in the same habit of how your living has been, what's become normal. You wake up every day, and this is what I do. And if you have a job or you have school, like we do, it's kind of like, well, why should we change? So for the longest, change was something that I wanted to make a reality in my life. And I know that if I did it for me, because again, when you're doing something that's going to impact, right, it's something that's going to make change in your life, you want to make sure that it's something that's going to impact everyone. Because if you ever think about it like this, like when you essentially hurt yourself, right, you're going to hurt many who love you. So why don't we flip it? And if we make a positive change for yourself, you're going to make a positive change for others. And I think that's the better way to kind of make an impact for change, is that when you can, like, guys, I'm making this change, but I'm also dragging you guys with me, because I feel like you guys are going to benefit from this. And that's what we essentially did. Do any of you guys have anything that maybe you can kind of combo into that? Because I feel like I did this change, but this change actually, you know what, I'm gonna let, because I have what I remember from the beginning of when we changed, and by change we mean that we moved houses, but we moved houses. And what is this cat doing? Our cat, she's hungry right now.
What is this cat doing? But we changed houses. We moved houses after the end of our school year, after the end of my 10th grade school year. And that's like, I remember in the old house, we're going to refer to it as the old house, because
the old house.
It's the old house.
This is the
new house, or the current house. This is the house that we now live in.
Yeah.
But in the old house, I remember a conversation you had in when you were talking about choosing houses, and you were like, we got to make the best decision, because this will change the way we view life. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember you saying something like that.
I said that.
And at the time, of course, I wasn't like vividly, like really thinking about, this decision can really change the way you view life, because I can't tell the future. But to wrap it up, my experience when he had that conversation with us was I was really closed-minded. I wasn't really looking at how this house can change the way we view life. I kind of just was I can't wait to move because I'm sick of this house, you know. But even though not looking back at it, like kind of miss it because it's a little bit nostalgia, and that's something we can get on later. How nostalgia is ultimately what average people live their life for. But I am curious for Jaden's his opinion on this whole topic, and also how he was when that conversation, like how he was thinking when that conversation came. Like, what was his thoughts when that conversation came?
Well, I think moving to this new house has definitely changed all of us for the better. We all got closer to God by moving here. We all became open-minded moving here, and it's overall just been a mind opener just moving here. We became more like aware and just closer to each other as a family too. The old house, it was like because our parents were at work, we were at school. It's just like, I guess it was like a lot of like, how do I put it? Division. Yeah, like division. Like it was very hard to like have like family time. I feel like, and
authentic family time.
Yeah, and so I think like definitely moving into this house has made us a lot closer to God. Just way more. Just our minds have like opened up. It feels a lot better just being here. That's what I could say. And what my brother asked me about the conversation when we were having about moving, I was definitely excited, but I think in the wrong way excited in the sense that what he said, I just want to move to a new house because it's going to be cool to move to a new house. Like, it's just going to be fun. I wasn't excited in the fact of like, oh, maybe this is going to change how we live or change how we see things. And yeah, that's when like I wasn't thinking about that, but now like now actually I guess you could say like maturing and realizing like this was even if this wasn't like the craziest, coolest house, but the fact that it's in such a nice area, like such a peaceful area, just makes our minds open up so much more and makes us see things more, like not get so mad at things so easily. It feels like, we've never, out of all of our years of like, every single morning we go from to the gym. That's something I would have never expected. We wake up early and go from to the gym. It's like, that's just like all that stuff that we do now is just very. Years ago, I would have never thought we would be doing it. And I'm very grateful that we're able to do what we do and have what we have, and all the glory goes to God. So
I just want to piggyback off of how you ended that, Jaden. It definitely the change brought us together. I think you had mentioned the word division. That was, and that could happen to any family, because we're all growing up. We're all growing up. We have our own ways, ideas. How many times were you in the bathroom, right? And it would be like, yo, what are you doing in there? And
we
it's
have
like
one bathroom still in this house.
We have one bathroom. However, we know how to. We appreciate it. We appreciate our time more. I feel like when you don't, when everything around you is not going the way that. I guess if not going the way in a way where as though it can aid you for a better day, you tend to kind of pick on things that probably are meaningless because you're looking for someone to pay you attention. You're looking for attention, essentially. So me, saying, hey, why are you in the bathroom for all this time is me looking for, I guess, a reaction. And that's what we as people always do. We tend to kind of, gravitate towards the reaction, and then the reaction sparks up a side of us that we didn't mean to spark up, but it just becomes a part of the whole entire moment. It evaporates anything good out of that moment. And I think that's what happened a lot before. But again, the environment, when you're in a place for so long and the place had a good and a bad, sometimes the good becomes less because you've been there for so long, and then the bad becomes more, and it's like you don't you're not really inspired. Like what's the incentive to changing? Like, who am I changing for? What's the reason why? If that makes any sense. And God has always been there in our family. God has always been in the forefront of our family. But it just the connection between like really taking in the understanding of God, and taking our understanding away wasn't really there. It was kind of hard to focus on that.
Definitely, this is why we're preaching that when you are in a bad situation, let's say you're going through a depressive moment or a depressive state, this is why we say changing your environment, and this is why so many others say, if I'm sure you heard this advice before, that changing your environment is the first thing you should do before you do anything else, before you try anything else. It's because of what my dad just said. Like, the energy it's always gonna stay in the environment. Like, who you used to be, like, that's not gonna change.
Yeah.
You're gonna, let's say, for example, you were a guy like me who played video games 10 hours a day, and then you try to lower down the amount of hours you played, but then you're going through your day, and then you see something that reminds you of a video game. Maybe it's a T-shirt, maybe it's a poster, maybe it's a message from your Discord friends, maybe it's something like that, and that's known as your hot trigger. Which a hot trigger is basically something that isn't always present, but when it is, it triggers you to do something you didn't want to do. And that is something that's always going to stay in your old environment.
Yeah.
And this is why when you change your new environment, change to a different environment like we did, you can remove all those hot triggers and all those cues, and you basically, as the title says, get a chance, not always guaranteed, but you get a chance to restart your life, which is how I feel like what I did. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I had a chance to restart your life that only 10% of people actually do it. And then we did it. And I feel like that is a pretty, like, not achievement, but a big milestone with moving. Like, you guys brought the house, and then for me it was actually taking advantage of the house. But I found this interesting study online. Not online, but in history. And I want you guys' opinion on it, because it relates to environment change. But during the Vietnam War, I think, when America was over there, there was a whole bunch of American soldiers who got addicted to, I think, heroin.
Okay.
Yeah, a whole bunch of them got addicted to that. And then the American government was worried that when they came back, there's going to be an epidemic, because all these soldiers, all these authority figures, you could say, were now addicted to this drug. But then when they came back, like, naturally the rate to quit was really low. Like, not many people would quit such an addiction. But when they came back from Vietnam to America, like, most of them, like, they quit. And that is because they associated the drug with the environment that they were in. And then when they came back, they didn't have the same habit, the same mindset. Deep. So I don't know about you guys' opinion on that, but, like, that to me shows just how powerful it is when you change your environment. Like, you can quit such an addictive substance. And this is advice to you guys. Like, if you're living in the same house that you've been addicted to something, if you just change that environment, you can change a lot about, like, your addictions and your bad habits.
That's deep. It's a good segue right there into a deep conversation. You want to add anything to that, Jaden?
Yeah. Well, piggybacking off of, just what they both said about environment change, I think that when we lived in the old house, we were very stuck, and when you're stuck, you don't really have an oomph to, like, be like, let's do this, let's do that. You just, once again, you just feel stuck. And when you change environments, whether it's, like, bad or good, you're gonna realize a change. Like, where we were living at before, it wasn't like the. I mean, it was getting. I think we could all say it was getting worse, just how things happen. So with that happening, if we would have stayed where we were, we would have followed that too and gotten worse, because you are what your environment is, I guess you could kind of say. And so, now that we're here, I guess, like, I don't really know how to describe it, but I guess it just feels like that like that door we were behind, like, moving here, we, like, open up the door, and now it's like a big room, and, like, now we have reasons to do things, we want to do things. We would have in the other house, we would have never have went on walks before, just because why would we? But now in this house we have, or we would have never have sometimes when he gets out of work, we would never have gone to sometimes in the other house get water ice or something, but we have in this house because, you know, it's like,
Or go to the gym twice.
or go to the gym twice because,
Not always a good thing, but
which yeah, but it's just because the environment we in, it changes you, and like I said, whether that's a good or bad, you just have to realize that and then do it better. Like if you go to an environment and you just feel like you're completely lost, then that was a bad environment change for you. Or you go to a good environment and that was a good environment change for you. That's where it just comes to, like, you have to realize that, and then you just have to, like, can't just so a kid crying. So you have to take advantage of where you are at in your environment. Like if you just went from not doing the best to then a great environment, you can't just live the same way you were living before. When you go to your new environment, you have to change, and it might be hard, but it's also might be a lot easier because you're in a new environment and it should be better for you. So
You know, following up from what you were saying, Jaden, as far as like the environment, like pretty much inspiring you to change, which is what we've been talking about today. It inspired me, and you had said, you know, how we would go for walks and we would go for like water ice, you know, simple stuff, right? But yet those simple things were only the thought of in the environment we were in before. It was like, yeah, that would be a nice thing to do, but we would never do it. And you know, again, that inspiration has to come from from within the heart. You know, it was more. It was always like, I think we can do this, but it was never the commit to it type of movement. Like it was no action whatsoever, like you had mentioned earlier, you know. And we have heard this before, action speaks louder than words, but it was kind of hard to put that action because oh no, hold, all right, so yeah, like you know, action definitely, you know, speaks louder than words, but it was hard to commit for me, at least, especially, you know, me having to be the one driving. It was more like, oh man, I gotta drive again. Or even going food shopping was like, oh man, we gotta go food shopping. Like there was never really like that feeling of I want to go do this. Was more like I have to go do this, you know. And for anything that I wanted to do, it would be like a set day for that, and sometimes that would be 2 weeks from now. So you know, moving to a new place helped me understand how special it is, one, to be able to be alive, right? Be able to breathe, be able to, you know, say good morning, or even be able to go outside and you know, walk somewhere, whether it is to go to the gym or if it's just to go into your car. Is just be thankful for the little things, you know, the fact that they're healthy and we're doing okay, you know, those things. I've been able to kind of reflect and be like, wow, like that's incredible. Around this time in this day, I would be possibly doing absolutely nothing, you know, and now I'm actually doing something completely different. Like there are things that I, you know, for many it might be like, what, I do this all the time, but for me it's like it's baby step, you know. And it's like, wow, I did 3 things today, and normally I would settle for 1, maybe 0, you know. But like the inspiration is there. And I feel like coming into this new place where there's more greenery, you might as well call it like a suburban type of area where there's more green, basically a lot more trees, and you still have the city, like, you know, but you're able to go outside and you're able to take those nice walks to a park, many parks actually, and enjoy the scenery. Like even driving, you get to enjoy the scenery. Like who would have thought you would see like deers, you know, stuff like that. And just that environment alone is what I have always wanted. I just didn't know how to obtain it. I always put walls in front of me, and I made it difficult more and more and more. And even in your new environment, I want to say this too, even in your new environment, because we as humans are, you know, we like to keep old habits. Or it's like, you know, you take an old box that you had years ago, right? Some of us are hoarders, and then you put that old box into a new place. You only what did you do? You changed your area, you changed your atmosphere, but within you're still the same person. Sometimes you got to throw away things to actually move forward, and it's hard to do. It's hard. No, don't throw away that. Don't throw away that. You know, we hold on to these materialistic things, but sometimes, I mean, I understand we all have valuables that we got to keep, but I feel like sometimes in order for us, and I have something big for that. I have something big for that. Sometimes you got to let go. You got to let go of things in order to allow for something spiritual to happen. You have to let go of things that you were holding for so long, because then maybe that's the reason why you've been blocking. Maybe that's the reason why God has been trying to talk to you, but he just can't get to you because there's something that you're holding on to material wise. All right, because that too is something that we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be idol worshiping, you know, and we definitely shouldn't be, you know, putting everything into this one object, you know, because then that right there is a sin. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, we shouldn't be worshiping anything but one, the Almighty, the Lord. So an object is something we can worship. If you play video games 10 hours a day, you're worshiping your PC.
Yeah.
If you spend more time on something than God, you're worshiping it. There's no exceptions. Yeah, there's no exceptions. But
Correct.
Like you said, how you do have to let go of things, and you switch your environment. Like I said, the fastest way to restart your life is switching your environment. And it's not always guaranteed that you will change, but it gives you a chance to change. And that chance comes off the other minor choices you make, like whether to let go of a possession that you used to have, or let go of a friend that you used to have, let go of something that you used to have, and now not have it because now you're changing your life, and you know you gotta reframe your mindset. Mm-hmm. So, like I just said, you gotta let go of old friends, which is something.
Yep.
When you change your environment, this is something I can relate to. I don't know if Jaden can, but I'm sure he can. You're at an age that you probably can't.
Yeah, I can count how many people I talk to. It's not a lot.
Yeah, but not only that, but you're not in school.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder for you to relate to letting go of old friends. But like for me, for an example, if you want to change your life, the environment comes first. Change your environment, and then change the people you surround yourself with, because the people you surround yourself with, that's the environment that you surround yourself with. And you know, you are the 5 people that you spend the most time with. You have to change those 5 people. For me, those 5 people are not my family. Not many can say that at all. In fact, you have to let go of those old friends, because especially if those old friends are your hot triggers for the old habits that you used to do. Because like I know for me, if I still had connections with some of my old friends and they kept on messaging me to play Fortnite at 2 a.m., something stupid like that, I would probably do it. And it's not my fault. I mean, it is my fault because I'm not able to resist the hot trigger. But at the same time, it's also my fault because I didn't leave that friend group, because now I'm just hanging out. I'm obsessing of ways to hang out with people that I don't even like in the first place. So it's like that's just a waste of my life. So what I decided to do was, when I moved this house, I ended up deleting a lot of my way of connecting to them. And then ever since then, most people, I know I've heard this a lot, but most people when they go through this phase of self-improvement or being better than the self they used to be, you know, you do have to leave your friends. And a lot of people, which I'm very grateful that I don't have to go through this, a lot of people go through an intense period of loneliness. They don't have anybody to relate to, not even their family, not even, because you know, sorry to say this, but most families, let's say it's a family of 3, you're the only child, and you decide to change your way of living, and your mom and your father, they can't change that the way they viewed you, because you've been the way you've been for so long now. It's like they just can't change the way they view you, so they still treat you the same. and because of that, you can't relate to them. And then if you're the only child, then the chances are both your parents are going to be hardworking individuals, and they're not going to be around you as long. Like, I have a sibling that can be around me, 2 siblings that can be around me, so that's the problem.
I could be a sibling too sometimes, you know.
He's the half sibling, the one half of a sibling.
Yeah, I could be a kid sometimes, you know?
But and you can't relate because most families also have a dad that goes on the weekends to get drunk or something like that.
Or just selfless thinking.
Selfless thinking, which not all families do that. But like, if you were in that position, you'd go through this intense period of loneliness, and that period, it goes on for a while, like a long time, and then you start making new friends that actually relate to you. And I'm grateful that I don't really have to go through a period like that, because I do have siblings. I have my half sibling. I have I have parents that I can relate to. And that's something I'm really grateful for, and that's something that really exceeded the way I can start my journey,
When I was, just listening to you talk, I was also thinking, like, this situation here made an impact in my life, because I have always been open to God. I since I was like real young, always was nurtured in the Word of God with my, regarding my grandmom. It was always His presence was always there, But like I said, I didn't always have that connection to want to learn more about the Word. It was more like, hey, you need to do this. And again, when you're being forced to do something, it's just not going to end well. It's not going to start well, and it's not going to end well. So I never appreciated someone who was like forcing me to do something that I really wasn't like there for, like I might be there, in the flesh, but like in my mind might be somewhere else. But for so long, like I said earlier about materials, on the day of that, I was packing up, and which, who likes packing? Nobody likes packing. I did not. I hate moving. But now that I'm an adult, it's like, I can't hate something that's going to create this change that was going to be such a big one in my life and in their life to it, because it was going to be, like I said, it was going to be a change that we were all going to benefit from, whether direct or indirect, it was going to happen. And as I was packing things up, I was packing up. I used to be a collector of crystals, and I remember I had so many crystals, and we should not be worshiping rocks, But again, like, I was in the environment that I was little by little creating a hole. I was creating a hole for negative to come into. Like, you're thinking, because again, it's like they say, when you lie so much, it then becomes the norm. Like, it becomes the truth, right? And I've been lying to myself in the way I was living then, and I didn't realize it, that I was actually making it become the truth, And because of that, I didn't notice if there was a snake sleeping next to me. I didn't notice if something bit me, and I didn't know where from. It was always it was always an itch to want more of whatever it was that had nothing to do with God. It was an itch that was in me that I had to go chase. And even though it may have been harmless, like in the physical realm, but it was definitely harmful in the spiritual realm, because I was the line that kept me connected with God was getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and I didn't even realize it. But it was becoming noticeable because, one, there was always division here and there in the conversations, relatable, meaningful thoughts, stuff like that. It was like I was more of a dad than I was one of them.
More of a teacher.
More of a teacher than it was like, how can you teach me when you need to teach yourself, So like I said, I was collector of crystals, and I thought the crystals were gonna change my life, just because I was there, and I was able to look at it and like hold it and think that it was gonna do something for me, and in reality, it wasn't doing anything, but it was doing the opposite. It was just creating chaos in my life, and I had this crystal skull. It was like this big, huge crystal skull that I acquired years ago from eBay, and like I thought it was the coolest thing.
I think I remember.
You know, I had this skull. I used to think that it was the coolest thing, not knowing, you know, where it came from or who, you know, what was the purpose, you know, behind it. But I guess you would say I was worshiping this crystal, you know, and this skull was so cool. I thought it was cool. And I'm like, I wanted to sell it, right? I wanted to sell it, but I just didn't know who to sell it to. Like I would think about putting it on eBay, like the same people who sold it to me. Let me go ahead and find somebody else to buy it. But then on the day of, you know, and this skull cost me like about $300 and something. It was a very expensive skull, and I was like, on that day that we were moving, you know, I took it along with all the other crystals. I put it in a bag and I threw it in the trash, because money should never become the forefront of any decision you make. If you keep thinking about how much it's worth, all right, then basically you're saying that it's worth more than you. Because if it's something it's not doing anything good for you and it's holding you back, if anything, then why should you put $1 on it? Because if you put $1 on it, somebody's going to look at it and be like, well, I will give you this. No, I will give you this. And now you're bidding, but you're bidding against your soul. You're bidding against your life. You're bidding against your future self. And I had to eliminate the thought of money, all right, and just think about the future. Like, aren't you more valuable than something like that? You are. You're more valuable than that. Money should never become the decision maker, you know? If I had done it that way, trying to find somebody to buy this crystal, I probably would have never parted with it. And not only that, but I probably wouldn't have never been this closer to God. And maybe my experience moving here would have been probably a hard transition. Because on that day that we were moving, our truck decided to stop working. You were there that day.
Yep.
All right, you know, so like there were some things that were like, yo, what? No, we can't make this happen. We got to make it hard for him. And guess what? We never broke. We never broke. We never gave up. And like even on the day of, we moved on the day that he was graduating, which was definitely tough on all of us because it was like a very sweet and bitter moment because we didn't have enough time to kind of like, you know, take it in and say thank you for being a good child and graduating. You know, like we didn't take it in like we should have. Everyone else went to go enjoy it at a dinner meal or whatever. We did not. We were moving. So it was hard. It was definitely hard. But out of all of that, you know, God did this so that we can enjoy and talk about it today. Because we had to let go. We had to let go of a lot of things. It wasn't just the environment, but it was also the material. So I tell you, whomever you are, if you decided to watch us, all right, and you made it this far and you're watching us right now, I just want to say, if there is anything holding you back, definitely look out for the material. You know, what do you have in your possession that may be holding you back, or maybe that you're holding on tight? Remember, you know, God feeds the birds no matter what. They eat no matter what. They're always out there eating. The cats are always out there eating. There's so many in the alley, right? You got dogs out there sometimes that are just walking around, you know, how do they find food, right? Animals always find food. Don't you think you're better? Don't you think you're more valuable? You are. And somehow we always put ourselves last, and we are actually first in everything. We're actually first, and you are worth it. So I just wanted to notate that it's not just about your environment; it's also about what you're holding on to,
What you take with you.
what you take with you.
Well, I guess I had a similar scenario like that where I was wearing these specific like bracelets that had like that I remember how I saw I guess you could say like at the time maybe a lot of people, I guess bracelets were like a thing, and a lot of people wearing bracelets, and so I was like, yo, I want a whole bunch of bracelets that are all gonna be on my arm. But what I didn't know was, or what I knew at the time, but I didn't know at the same time, was the fact that basically these bracelets were called evil eye bracelets. Yeah. And you know, I I guess you could say I didn't really know to like I did, but I also at the same time, like I said, didn't know like what these like bracelets fully like did. But I just kind of wore them just because I thought they looked cool, and I guess it was kind of like a trend going on. Like everyone was just wearing bracelets, so I thought they were cool for wearing them. But yeah, basically what they did was they were supposed to like like if there was any negative energy or like evil energy, they would basically, I guess, push away that energy. Which, like I said, partial. Like I didn't really wear them for that reason, but I was still wearing them. Which, to other people, it may not seem like, to me it was just maybe like, oh, I was wearing them, but to other people who know, maybe they were looking at me like, oh, maybe he believes in that. But I didn't. I was just wearing them because I thought they looked cool, and I was wearing other bracelets with that too. But I remember like in school there was one time like this girl that had like a whole bunch of bracelets, and she was just giving them out to people, and I was like, and I took like a couple, and I just put. I didn't even know who knew what the background of those bracelets was. Like who knew. But like they had like little like things on them. Like one of them had like a hand on them. I was like, yo, this looks cool. I'm gonna put my whole on my wrist, and I was just like, I thought it looked cool. But yeah, and then one day like I said, I don't even remember, to be honest, but I just stopped wearing them. And then it could have been they broke, or it could have been I just like put them somewhere. I don't even remember, but I don't wear them anymore just because now closer with God, it's like that. I wish I could tell myself, then like that was not the way. Like that, even though I wasn't doing it for that reason, it was still bad because in a way it was like I was doing it for the reason, but I wasn't, and it might have seemed like I was. So it just yeah, I would never even. Anybody out there who has that stuff, even if you're not doing it for that reason, yeah, you should just get rid of it and just get a regular. You can get a cross bracelet, which is God, or you just get a regular. You don't even have to wear a bracelet. You don't even. I mean, he wears a watch. That's his bracelet. That tells the time. You can get a watch. They're pretty cheap.
I mean, well, yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Okay, well, Apple Watch is.
You can get a cheap watch at the dollar store.
Yeah, like an Apple Watch is not cheap, but
But yeah. Well, I mean, I just want to say how like thankful I am that my kids had the opportunity to realize, what was good, and that it was from within that they decided to change. Their viewpoints are really showing. And how much change this impact created. So I'm really, really thankful for that, because it's kind of hard to, especially when you're young. I know I was a hardhead, so it's kind of hard to kind of make change happen in that sense. So I'm really grateful that I'm just gonna let God do what He has to do, because I also need to change. So God used me to reflect, right, and then cause this change. But ultimately they did it themselves. I didn't go to them and like, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. I didn't do any of that, because we're always too busy trying to do that as parents. And I feel like the best way to learn is to just let them let them. I mean, you have to be an example, right? You have to be an example, but ultimately you gotta just let them, and they will eventually come back and be like, wow, I didn't know that was wrong, but thank you for being there for me. So I'm really happy that I did that. And I just want to say, if there's anybody out there that's a parent, just like I had said, let your kids, just let them pray, and of course, never let them catch you on your weakest day, because you need to be strong. If you're weak, they're gonna see it, and then they're gonna be like, well, he does it, then it must be okay. No, you gotta stick to your guns. Stick to what you believe in, even when things are running rampant all around you and things are just crazy. Stick to it, because eventually God does answer you. It may not be on your time, but He will answer you, and you never know and one thing you must always have is a clear mind, open mind, because sometimes change happens and we don't never realize it, because it just happened. So be aware, clear your mind, and be ready. That's my advice to anybody out there who is a parent, is just clear your mind and always be ready.
But yeah, guys, we gotta trust in God, trust the process. Just like the one scripture says, Exodus 14:14, the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. You gotta trust that He will fight for you, and He will be there for you. You have to be patient, and you have to know, not only believe, but know that He will be there for you. But guys, we had a good conversation about environment change, and the whole purpose of this video, guys, is for you guys to change, to get, if you're in a state where you feel like you need change, the number one thing to do is change your environment. And then, of course, worry about the things that you take with you. Question everything, question the things that you take with you, because you don't want to take things of your past life and then they are now one of your hot triggers that influence the bad habits to occur again. So change your environment. Changing your environment is the fastest way to restart your life, and we mean that because we've experienced this firsthand. And to be honest, this topic is a subject that we could probably make a whole other episode on. So maybe that'll come down the line. It probably will, because we're gonna be doing this forever. It's never gonna stop. But environment change your environment, and you change your life. That's the number one thing you should be focusing on. Whether that's moving to the room next to you, changing where you sit. I used to sit. There's a couch right there, over there. I used to sit on that couch and edit all day. Now I sit exactly where I'm sitting here, and I feel a change. And it's it doesn't matter. Like, the physical environment does not matter. It's the fact that I changed where I worked, you could say, or edited. I'm still a kid, and I changed the way I viewed life. Like, simple stuff like that. You gotta change those stuff, and you will change your habits in your life. And that's the simplest way to do it. That's the quickest way to do it. And we like quick things, so
yeah.
Humans like quick things. That's probably why you clicked on this video, because it was the fastest way to restart your life.
I mean, and it's definitely not clickbait.
This is the number one thing you should do.
It's definitely not clickbait. A good way to close it. Just want to say thank you for those of you who are out there, who are watching us, whether you caught us from the shorts or you've been here and you've been watching us this whole entire time. If you made it this far, I just want to say thank you. Your time is well appreciated, and I hope that you can give us more of your time. And feedback is 100% needed, because we need direction. We need direction. Where do we go? If there's anything that we can do to help you, the viewer, let us know. So feedback is appreciated. So keep on coming, because we are going to do more and more videos like this. Like my son said, Jason over here, we're going to be doing it. So thank you guys. God bless you guys. Take care and have a great evening or a good day, whatever time it is in your day. Take care. Peace out.